It wasn't too bad. The business, we were surprised, continued. People had nothing to do. And in wartime, you look for what little pressures you can. And ladies would have little parties. We would have jam sessions in the afternoon because of the brownouts. But the parlor flourished, and our employees were able to earn a living. But then, as the war escalated, all the Americans were sent to Santo Tomas, including my father, and he was already in his late 60s. But in the beginning, they allowed us to send food. And my mother bought a carretela and a horse and loaded it with food for my father, my cousin Harold and Marge Rather, who were also Americans in the camp. And she would feed whoever she saw of her friends, the American teachers. They just load the carretela as much as possible every week until the war escalated and all communication was stopped. And of course, we worried about my father. So we come to January, late January of 1945. I remember the phone ringing. When I answered it, Mrs. Carmen Melencio, General Aguinaldo's daughter's family friend, said to me, Eula, don't worry, your father is safe. Well, that could only mean one thing, the Americans had arrived, and of course, we were so happy. Unfortunately, that joy was very short-lived. Within the hour, all phones were cut, and the Japanese soldiers came with torches and started burning the buildings in front of our eyes. I was there, literally, seeing them throwing the torch on our building. We were able to save some things. Across the street from us, there was the high wall enclosing the compound for the embassy personnel houses, and there were no trees, so we felt that the things would be safe. And I was able to remember the house helped me bring a camphor chest filled with telas and clothes. And to show you the mentality of my mother, very, very practical person, she saved the cash register. And we couldn't understand that, but frankly, it came to good use later on. And we stood there, and this was the crucial point of our lives. On the sidewalk, our house help, our neighbors, the Garcia Lao family, and the consul from Portugal was also with us, with his family. They were all our neighbors. Where should we go? We can't stay there. Everything was burning. Even if the air raid shelter, we couldn't stay. We would have to go elsewhere, at least for that night. And someone said, well, the logical is the Malate Catholic Church. It's cement, it's safe. And some wonderful divine guidance told my mother. She said, no, that too many people are going there. It'll be too crowded. Let's go to the dress shop on the right, La Petite Paris, owned by Pilar Romac. She said, it's a concrete building, and I remember the way it's built. There's like a basement, open basement under it, and it's all concrete. We can stay there for the night. So we did. The whole group trooped along, neighbors and our house helped, and we sat there. You know, it's so strange because after burning the homes on Mabini, the soldiers just disappeared. I didn't see anyone shooting anyone. I didn't see any soldiers with guns shooting. It was just burning the houses and disappearing. And I know now that behind us in Paco, Oregon, in those areas, they were shooting people as they were running from their burning homes, including the Quirino family. I know they lost many members there. I didn't see any of this. And we were sitting there hearing all the bombing and the shooting, but I didn't see any soldiers actually shooting anyone. And so we crept back to our home, cleaned up the area, kept the debris so that they couldn't see the air raid shelter, but we had water to put out the embers. And every time there was a bombing, we would huddle 20 people in that small, tiny air raid shelter. It was uncomfortable. However, we had food, we had water, so we couldn't complain. And we couldn't turn away our neighbors either. I mean, that was life or death for everyone. And so we were there for about a week, early February. And I remember one afternoon, early afternoon, we were outside trying to get some fresh air. And suddenly, some people came running and saying, "The army is here now. There are trucks of soldiers and military." And of course, we were frightened to death. What should we do? Should we hide again in the shelter? Or then we heard voices. "Hey, Joe, and where's that?" Well, these are the Americans. So we were so, so happy to see them. And they couldn't believe their eyes to see this group of people standing there, 20 people in the midst of this no man's land, galvanized iron and everything burnt. But we had stayed because we had the shelter and food and water. And they said, "Well, let us escort you to a safer area in Santa Ana near the river, near the Catholic Santa Ana Church. It's safe." And they sent soldiers to escort us. Along the way, we passed the Malate Church, and I saw the dead bodies on the pavement and was told that the Japanese had killed the priests and those inside the church who couldn't escape. So my mother's decision not to go was, well, a life or death decision for us there. So we were walking from Malate all the way through San Andres to Santa Ana, 5 miles, my mom and I carrying a gasoline can filled with bigas, rice. And we had a cart loaded with the camphor chest, the mahiwagang cash register, and a live pig. We had a live pig, believe it or not, that we were keeping in case the war went on. We had something to eat. So we got to the Valencia residence and were able to send word to my father that we were safe. We couldn't go across yet. It wasn't safe to go to Santo Tomas. But after 2 weeks, my mother went ahead and took over some of our apartments in Sampaloc, and my father. She left me in the Valencia's house. She said, "You stay there till we're comfortable." And I followed. I saw my father a month later, and he had lost, in that last year of the war, about 80 pounds. But because he was healthy, he was all right. He didn't really need medical, just rest and good diet. I remember he was allowed to go to Santo Tomas for rations, wonderful stuff. We learned to have Spam and Coke and all those good things. Yeah, it was great. And then in June, we were told they're sending the American internees back to the United States on the troop transport. I remember it was the SS Uruguay. I understand that they leased it from South America. It was huge, huge transport, the first to leave the Philippines to return to America. And he decided he and I would go and my mother would stay to take care of the family business. And so on that ship, what I remember of it was one day there was a ship's bulletin and it said, "The A-bomb has been dropped on Hiroshima." Well, I know what that meant because I had been reading the Time magazine, and I was happy that the war would be over. Of course, it took another bomb, one more, in Nagasaki before we could achieve, the surrender. So when we landed in San Francisco, they were very, very nice. The immigration, the Red Cross, they helped us and offered all the help they could. "Do you need money? Do you need clothes? Do you need this? Do you need a place to stay?" Well, we said, "No, thank you. We have everything." My father had sisters, but we went to family, friends. And I was so tired from, sea legs from the ship, and I wanted to sleep. But unfortunately, next morning, there was such a commotion. and the cars were blowing horns, and the people were shouting in the streets. So I opened the radio. It was VJ Day. We landed in San Francisco the day before VJ Day. And so I was so happy to be here. So I'm really happy for this conference because I feel that it will help to preserve memories and maybe heal the painful ones. And I think that the ultimate lesson of any war is to be grateful that we have survived, that we are here today with friends and loved ones. Thank you very much. And I trust that we shall all try to live our lives to the fullest, every day to the fullest that you can. Thank you.